we know that just doesn't happen. We don't relax on the weekend because what happens is the kids do football, then other kids do ballet, and then I've got to paint the fence, then I've got to fix the door, then I notice that the dog looks a bit ill, I have to take the dog to the vet. Grandma's lost her teeth, the false teeth are lost, alright? So all of this is before I'm even out of my pajamas. Right? That's chaos as far as I'm concerned at a personal level. Right? Now, at the personal level, I think we all know what chaos is. But I want to tell you an example about chaos at work. And chaos happening here in Bangkok at the moment in my particular company, in this company. I'm sure this is happening to many other construction companies too. Now, what happens when you're in the construction industry and you are providing the project managers to the construction industry, the project managers meet with the owners at least once a week and they talk backwards and forwards about how to build a 13-level tower. Okay, so at the moment we are working on Icon CR, which is the biggest building in Bangkok, but really we're working on about 30 projects, huge projects. And at least once a week, our project managers are talking to the owners. The owners will be millionaires or billionaires. The previous managers have prepared beautiful documentation of what we did during last week. It's a folder, it's a book, it's got all of the correct data in there, and it proves that we're on time. The owner, though, is, like I said, a billionaire. They don't have agendas, right? They just walk into a meeting and they just start talking. So our guys who know Thai language are talking with somebody, say, from Korea, who's talking English as a second language, about very, very important issues, but our guys don't know the agenda, right? So they can't prepare an answer. So what we've got is we've got our guys speaking their version of English, that might be this level here, the Korean guy speaking his level of English, like here. The conversation goes down to the lowest common denominator. And then they're talking about multi-million-dollar structures. They're talking about timelines and schedules. Those timelines and schedules are out. That could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. It can be a safety issue. Where you've done 30 tonnes of wet concrete, you better be in the right place at the right time, or the tower falls over. Right, so really important issues. And they're talking about it in two different languages, and at a very low level. So when I first noticed this problem, I thought, oh no problem, I'll get some interpreters. And I'll go to the university, so I went and met Mike, and got information, we'll put together a list of interpreters, possible interpreters, who might come every so often and work at UBS. Seemed like a great idea. And maybe a week ago, a week and a half ago, I ran a workshop here for those students. And the students came along, we had a good workshop, and I thought everything was going just fine until the very last assignment. And it was a translation exercise, so one document to another document. I was dealing with two ladies, and very, very clever students. And one was from Burma, one was from Indonesia, one had worked with World Health Organization, and the other, I think, United Nations. So they were used to translating, right? And I gave them just one sentence out of a standard contract. It was maybe 6 lines long in legal speak. They had all sorts of trouble with that. It took so long. And then I started asking questions about, I knew they knew the vocabulary. I started asking questions about it. And what they were doing in their mind was they had to move chunks of the information from the sentence into a correct order. Right? So they're moving bits from the front to the back to the front, the middle out to the side, even before they could start to translate the vocabulary. We don't have an equivalent like that in English. So if I had cut the sentence in half, which I was going to help them out, they probably would have said to me, oh, we can't do this because we need the information here that you've just thrown on the floor. Whereas if we were interpreting or translating, say, English to French, English to German, English to Spanish, whatever, and it was only half a sentence, we would still know at the end of that translation that it was half a sentence. So the problem became much bigger. Let me show you where we went. Yeah, just the next one along.
This is why you keep a dean on.
There we go. Okay, so this is what normally happens when you're translating or interpreting. You've got language A. A language will always come with its culture. You can't separate them. Language and culture go together hand in hand. Linguists are convinced, and by profession I'm a linguist, we're convinced that language and culture happens in the same part of the brain. And we're going to translate into language B. So we've got language A and the culture. The arrow is actually the interpreter. And translate into language B and culture B equals meaning. Right? We've got all those four parts together equal meaning. Dean, would you be able to press another button, please?
Probably.
Got to make him work for his breakfast, don't I? Okay, what we found while I was working with that Indonesian lady and the Myanmar lady, this was happening. We've got different structures in the language and different structures in the culture. So we've got language A, we've got comes with culture A, a different structured language and a different structured culture equals chaos. Now in Bangkok, this is becoming a problem. Bangkok has always been multicultural, but a lot of the business has been between Asian countries. But now the big money in the business area is coming from Europe. Really, it's coming from Hong Kong still, but the Hong Kong moneylenders are wanting engineers and designers from Europe to sort of guarantee their investments, okay? So we're now having to deal with Thai language, which is one structure and one culture, and English or Spanish or German or Italian, which is a different language and a different structured culture. Much bigger problem and not really fixed with a translator or an interpreter. Now, when I first thought of, okay, I'll come to Mike and we'll put together a list of interpreters, I did find out that PBS has an interpreter working out on site at the new airport. So I went out to see Pim, and I was talking to Pim, and she's working with, I think it's an English person and a Canadian person. And I said, yeah, how's things going? Oh, everything's fine. Had a chat to the English and Canadian guy. How's it going with the translator and the interpreter? Fine, you know, we get on really well together. Any issues? No. Everything was perfect, right? But when we come to the workshop, we find out that, oh, we've got a problem. We've got an issue, all right? If you've got a different structure, you're just not going to get the real meaning. Let me give you an example of translating English and Vietnamese. Vietnamese don't have a word really for yes. Okay, if I was to say, how are you? The answer would be yes. That's not how we use yes. Okay? And what would be going through that Vietnamese person's mind is, why is that foreigner so rude to me? Why is he asking me such a direct question? See, in English culture, in Western culture, we don't think like that. There's no way we can even think like that. Right? We often want and we need a definite yes or no or I don't know answer, especially in business. You know, are you going to put 30 tonnes of wet concrete there tomorrow? Yes, no, I don't know. That's what we really need. We don't really need to be kicking around with some cultural thing and finding some polite way to ask the same question. All right. What's another example with Vietnamese? We've got the yes thing. No, basically it boils down to this thing about direct questions. And why are you asking me a direct question? when I was talking to the two young girls in the workshop about the Vietnamese examples, they're nodding like this. Obviously in their culture, they know exactly what I'm talking about. So again, we've got different structures and different expectations of the language, and we're now getting this boom, hit together of a different structure, language and culture becoming chaos. So it sounds like that it's impossible to fix up. But then I thought, what about Pim? What about our interpreter out at the airport? So I went out and chatted with her again. And what she didn't tell me before was that, yes, she knows language A, let's say it's Thai, right? And culture, Thai culture. English, that's easy, anybody can go to university to learn that. But where did she get this other bit? Where did she get the English culture from? She spent 6 years in England, all right? So 2 years at university and 4 years working. She didn't see an issue here, or if there is an issue, she has ways of getting around it, all right? So I was under the impression that any interpreter could come in and interpret, say, Thai to English, Thai to Japanese, Thai to Indonesian, all right? The Asian languages, yes, but Indonesian to English, Thai to English, those ones are going to be the issue for Bangkok. And the fact that all of our bigger projects, as I mentioned before, are having more engineers, more designers, more owners coming from Europe and expecting English, that's where the issue really lies, I suppose you would say. I'm just trying to think where this might lead us, because remember my first slide, it showed a picture of me being saved by Superman and a Cape Crusader. I'm looking for a Cape Crusader. I had a problem, and initially I thought the Cape Crusader was going to be the interpreter, right? And then I thought, oh no, we can do better than that. The Cape Crusader is going to be the university. You know, they can find heaps of high quality interpreters. And now I'm starting to think that what the university has supplied for me is the real issue here. Yes, I'm sure we could have put together a list of interpreters. I think they would have run into trouble very, very quickly, right? If we were thinking that we can just get English language and straight away expect really good translations and interpretations of Thai or Japanese or whatever, would have been very, very wrong. Okay, so who's the Cape Crusader now? I'm not really sure. This is a much bigger problem than I thought, but I'm really glad that we've found the real problem, because now we can work on it. And I think working on it with the university is definitely the way to go in the future. It's a longer term plan, but I think for Bangkok it will present over many years super high quality interpreters for this part of the world. Just another thing, just mentioning it in passing, I was also thinking that maybe Mr. Google could help us with translating. Oh, that was a mistake. What a massive mistake that was. I was also expecting special little apps that you can put in the telephone and just speak, and then you've got another language. They're not even close, not even close. And they're not close is because Mr. Google knows nothing about another culture. Can't even put English culture in with the English language, let alone put, say, Thai culture in with Thai language. So I know that this university, many universities, within their language programs, they have very strong cultural studies also. I think that's probably where the focus will be for Bangkok, beyond the strong cultural studies. Okay, any questions? And they can be difficult.
Yes. How do you solve the problem that chaos happens because of the language and the different culture structure?
Well, if we take Pim as the example, right, she's got English. Well, sorry, let's start. Her native language is Thai. She's got Thai. She's got the Thai culture, right? She's got English, right? What she's also got is she's got the structurally different culture from England, right? And putting all of that together, she wouldn't have chaos there. The average person, the average translator would have problems. Even if they were totally brilliant with their second language, if they were the best speaker in the world, if they didn't have the culture that goes with that structurally different language, they're going to have chaos. So really, the secret is this part here. We've got to get interpreters to be very, very proficient in that second culture. So they're proficient in the second language, now we've got to get them proficient in the second culture. This is not an issue within Asia because your cultures are structurally similar. This is not an issue in Europe because our cultures are structurally similar. It's only the problem when they're starting to meet now. And it's only a big problem because we're dealing with billions of dollars and we don't want a 30-level tower to go. Okay, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes.
So, from what I'm listening and from what I'm processing in my
Yes.
mind, you're saying that from Kim, for example,
Yes.
you said that she spent 2 years in university,
Yes.
4 years abroad, being in other cultures, so that's why she doesn't have problems and chaos like
Yes.
you mentioned.
Yes.
But that's to avoid that chaos and problem, you got to put someone from their homeland to other cultures for 4 years. And also, you were saying that university will provide, university is like a long-term resolve for this problem. But from what I'm thinking is that you can't just change the environment that they're staying in a country to be like in other part of cultures and have them absorb the other cultural structure in different part, the difference in cultures. It's kind of create another chaos within a chaos.
Are you suggesting that, say, the university here couldn't and shouldn't try and make an artificial cultural setting? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yes. No, what I was thinking was that students are going overseas, all right? Whoops. Students are going overseas. So Pim spent 6 years overseas, 2 years at university, then 4 years, all right? I mean, that's the absolute ideal. Not everybody can do that. But maybe work experience for an interpreter or a translator needs to involve a couple of years at least going overseas and getting into that culture. And I mean really getting into the culture. I don't mean sitting in the library studying or else everything's wasted. I'm just thinking of another female in PBS. She's an engineer. She spent 1 year in New York, right? And she's sort of come back with a whole different attitude in regards to translating. It's not her job to translate and interpret, but she doesn't seem to have a big issue with it either. So 6 years is probably super ideal. It might only be a year, 2 years. I suppose it's up to the person who goes overseas.
So you think that to be like good interpreters, at least you need some experience in
Overseas,
other cultures,
yes.
overseas,
Yes.
at least a year or two.
Yes. Well, I know that back when I was a whole lot younger, if you wanted to be a linguist, you made a point of going overseas, and you'd spend a year, maybe 2 years, trekking through Europe. Okay, you would move from your home area to look at the different cultures, to experience the different languages. And that was just an accepted part of becoming a linguist. It sort of proved that you wanted to really be a linguist. Yes.
Sorry. In my opinion, I don't think that spending a year, 6 years abroad would help people learning the different cultures. But it depends on the individual. It depends on that how to be open-minded, how to be flexible, and how to be accepted to the new culture. For example, it doesn't guarantee that the student who spend like a year abroad is able to adapt to the different culture if they are not open that much to the new environment and everything. And at the same time, I have met some of the students that their English is perfect. They adapt themselves very well with a different international environment. And it was really surprised that she has never spent any time abroad. But she's just being open-minded, looking for the information. She's very friendly, outgoing, talking to people from different culture in order to learn the culture by not spending time overseas.
Yeah, I mean, if you're fortunate enough to be in a place where you're working and you've got other people from that culture, I mean, of course, that's a really good option, isn't it? You know, absorb from them as much as you can while you're within the office situation. Yes, yes. So I think there are a few different options in how students might be able to gain culture there.
Yeah, but one very important thing is that the student has to be active.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Like I said, you don't want to go overseas and sit in the library. That's not being active.
Right.
You need to go out to parties. You need to maybe, go to the pub. You need to go exploring on the weekends.
Or sticking with a group of Thai people.
Oh yeah, you don't do that.
That happens because it was really surprised me when I met one of my students spending a year in England, and when he came back, I don't see any improvement of English at all.
Yes, she was probably in North England. Yes, there's a particular part of Northern England where there's a huge Thai community, and just last week one of our ladies from PPS went there to the, I forget the name of the, Nottingham University. They've got a big engineering program there, and the only reason she agreed to go to Nottingham is because there's a big Thai community there. Okay, so she's not going there to be a translator or interpreter, she's going there to be a QS, so she'll feel at home there. So how easy is it for us to just go into our expat communities? You see it every weekend. We're in this beautiful exotic country called Bangkok, Thailand, and everybody should be out exploring. And you go to the pubs, and all of us foreigners are sitting in the pubs watching Aussie rules. Strange. Yes. No, you're right. Got to be active. Sure. Any more questions before we dig out in the donuts? You look like you've got something on your mind. Yes, there we go.
Basically, is it possible for someone who spent years and years overseas learning multiple languages and then facing like a kind of issue of losing his or her identity in terms of their native language or the way that it's like their mother tongue? Could that be changed, or because you said that?
I think this is really good issue to raise. This is good. Can I come at it from a little bit different angle, right? I have a daughter whose mum is Vietnamese. I'm Aussie, right? And everybody says, "Oh, Tina's so lucky. She's got two cultures." I don't think she has. I would argue, some days, I will argue that she's got three cultures, or she knows of three cultures. She's got mine, she's got mum's, she's got her own, all right? And does that make three, or does really she only have one? I don't know. It's a complicated issue, right? But this thing about diluting your culture and maybe losing a little bit of your language skills, or a lot of your language skills, is an issue, for sure. But I would tend to think if somebody's going overseas specifically to concentrate on learning a culture and a language with the idea of coming back home for work, I can't see that would be an issue.
So this probably usually happens with third culture children.
Sorry?
There's a term called third culture.
Yes. Yeah. It's a really interesting issue. It's something that we see at, really I'm meant to be a teacher, believe it or not, even though I'm in the construction industry. But we see it in schools where kids have had to move to, say, an international school or an overseas school, say from Vietnam or anywhere in Asia, maybe to Toowoomba in Australia. They're there for 3 or 4 years, and they will go back, and things will be different for them. And at times you've got to sort of wonder, is it for the best? Now there's a question down here too, I think.
Oh, no, I was just following up on what you were saying, actually. My wife's Thai, California. It's the same situation. She's lived there, I think, since 2004, and she had a big Thai community in Chicago. We go up there and hang out with them. But in San Diego, it's the same thing. She insulates herself with a huge group of Thai people, and there's me and there's a couple of other people, but it's really, I think it's kind of human nature. Yeah, we do this. So I guess we have to fight it, right? I mean, I feel like I can fall into that myself when I'm here or in another country as well. Yeah.
I think it's the easy option, isn't it? I will force myself to go exploring on the weekends. I'll jump on a BTS and I'll just get off anywhere and I'll just start walking, all right? The easier option is to have Saturday or Sunday morning breakfast at a pub somewhere, and then that becomes lunch. And I can spend the whole weekend, really, I may as well be back in Australia. If you opt for the easy option, you're going to miss out on the opportunity of being overseas. Yeah. Being a traveller from home. Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to, sorry, I came in at the end there, but I was just thinking about almost part of the problem is actually English as an international language now, because one of the reasons I think we don't integrate so much is because we move to these different countries and we don't start learning the local languages, and even if we do start learning them, especially in places like Bangkok, we find that people actually want to try and speak English with us to improve their own English language skills, and it takes a lot for you to try and really push to learn the language, especially when perhaps if you're in a teaching environment you're supposed to be using English all the time. And I think that fear and not learning the language properly prevents people from going out and integrating and really learning a lot more about their cultures. And what you were saying about linguists before, like having to go out into these cultures and learn the languages and really experience the culture. The way that the world's become so much more globalised now, I think that's probably a big part of what's preventing that from happening so much.
Yes. And I mean, you really don't have to be able to talk to somebody out in the sticks anymore. You can just go click. Oh yeah, I know where I am now. You don't even have to ask directions, do you? I'm not too lost anymore. Mr. Google just fixed that problem for me. And back in the days, like when I was a whole lot younger and you're going overseas, you could just give yourself an assignment. I want to walk that way and I must talk to 4 people. That could be the bus driver, that could be reading a couple of signs, getting a hamburger, whatever, and then you're back home. You don't have to do that anymore. You've got this silly thing. Yes. Really good questions. Excellent. All right. No more questions? All right. You'll see me on campus quite a lot now. Michael and I, Peter, we're working together. This uni is going to be a think tank to try and fix this problem. Thanks very much for coming along, and I'm sure Michael will see you next time.
We've got a 2-hour faculty meeting today.
Oh.
But let me say this, because some of the people who are asking questions are actually important.
Yes.
The faculty there, Peter, they're in the business English area, which is where you're tied up. So if I can announce for you now, this is the first of many firsts today. First time we've had a Creative Morning speaker who's a BUI dad. First time we've had a partner who speaks for us, and now for the latest one, it's the first Creative Morning we had that began with a problem and ends with a solution. So what he's just mentioned is, these are difficult tasks, and his company has two missions. They want to do more research and writing, and they also need more help on the interpretation side, but from a serious system standpoint. So what we're going to do in Business English is we're going to bring them in maybe 3-4 times a year under a think tank umbrella, in which they can bring, you can bring you, some of your students, people who have gone out to work with them, the 2 students he mentioned, students who might start to go out and work with them, and we're actually going to put you together for a couple of hours and then just let you talk about the problems. The idea is that he is busy running around with these 30-story buildings much more than he has time to sit and think about solutions. So we are going to become an opportunity for him to relax and think. And Ajahn Peter's going to take care of that initiative. A lot of work, very little money, so that you can go and do that. And then we're going to integrate the faculty and the students into this so we can actually activate this space right here. Because to go back to your question, I don't think we could ever get rid of chaos. I think we have to learn how to deal with the chaos in systemic ways that we then take it from a capital C to a lowercase c, or we minimize its impact as best we can. Because we can never get rid of, you're not from here, I'm not from here, and we're trying to figure it out. There will always be discord, but we try to keep the discord down. And one of the ways you mentioned, I've done this at my local KFC, is I keep trying to speak Thai to the guy behind the counter. He always wants to reply in English, so I actually made a deal with him. I said, I will speak Thai in order to you. You can reply back to me in English, and we fist bumped on it in front of the whole KFC area. They were all laughing at us. But we finally just said that we both want to do something, so let's just do it this way. So every time I go in there, my boys got my KFC ready, and we just interculturally interact that way. And so we've created this sort of hybrid, as maybe we call it, a third culture surrounded by popcorn chicken. Okay, and I really don't think that there's much wrong with that. So today, I'd like to draw to a conclusion. I'd like to invite you for more donuts and water, coffee, whatever you need here. And for this Creative Mornings, it's not an ending, because Paul will be back, and we're going to start doing a lot of things in Business English that we've never done before. So thank you for coming. Have a great day up until we have our faculty meeting at 2, and then I'll try to make it an even greater day. So thank you very much. Thank you, Paul.